Chapter 19. Beauchamp hit the brakes. "We're almost there," he said. "You got to close your eyes so it's a surprise." Rob closed his eyes and the Jeep went forward slowly. "Don't cheat now," Beauchamp said. "Keep them eyes closed." "Yes, sir," Rob said. "All right," Beauchamp said finally. "Go on and open them up." He had pulled the Jeep up as close to the tiger cage as possible without driving right into it. "Tell me what you see," he crowed. "Tell me what it is before your very eyes." "A tiger," said Rob. He let his mouth drop open. He tried to look excited and amazed. "Damn straight," said Beauchamp. "King of the jungle, and he's all mine." "Wow," said Rob. "You own him?" "That's right," said Beauchamp. "Fellow I know owed me some money. Paid me with a tiger. That's the way real men do business, in tigers. He come complete with the cage." The toothpick in the side of his mouth danced up and down. Beauchamp put a finger up to steady it into silence. "What are you going to do with him?" Rob asked. "I'm studying my options. I figure I could set him up out front in the Kentucky Star, have him draw me some more business into the motel." The tiger stood and stared at Beauchamp. Beauchamp looked away from him. He tapped his thick fingers on the steering wheel. "I also might just kill him," Beauchamp said, "and skin him and make me a tiger coat. I ain't made up my mind. He's a lot of work, I'll tell you that. He needs meat twice a day. That's where you come in. I need you to come out here and feed him. $2 every time you do it. How's that sound?" Rob swallowed hard. "How do I get the meat in the cage?" he asked. Beauchamp dug in his pocket and pulled out a set of keys. "With these," he said. He shook the keys and they gave a sad jingle. "Don't pay no attention to the big keys. They're for the locks on the door. Open them up and the tiger will get out and eat you for sure. You understand? I ought not to give you this whole set, but I know you won't open up that door, right? You ain't no fool, right?" Rob, terrified that the keys to the cage existed and that they were about to be handed to him, nodded. "See this tiny key?" Beauchamp said. Rob nodded again. "That's for the food door right there." Beauchamp pointed at a small door at the bottom of the cage. "You just open that up and toss the meat in a piece at a time, like this." Beauchamp swung himself out of the Jeep with a grunt. He reached in the back seat for the grocery bag, took out a piece of meat, bent over and unlocked the tiny door, opened it, and threw the meat in. The tiger leaped forward, and Beauchamp took a quick step back, stumbling. "That's all there is to it," he said, straightening up. His forehead was shiny with sweat, and his hands were trembling. "What's the tiger's name?" Rob asked. "Name?" said Beauchamp. "He ain't got a name. You got to name something before you toss it a piece of meat?" Rob shrugged and blushed. He bent over to scratch his legs so that he wouldn't have to look at Beauchamp's sweaty, angry face. "You want to get introduced proper?" said Beauchamp in a mocking voice. "Well then, get on out of the Jeep." Rob climbed down. Beauchamp grabbed hold of the fence and shook it. The tiger looked up from his meat. His muzzle was red with blood. He stared at Beauchamp with a fierce look in his eyes that was familiar to Rob. "Hey!" Beauchamp shouted. "You see this boy here?" He pointed at Rob. "He's your meal ticket. Not me. It's this boy. He's got the keys now. Understand? I don't got them no more. This boy's got them. He's your boy." The tiger stared at Beauchamp a minute more, and then he slowly lowered his head and started back to work on the meat. "Now you two know each other," said Beauchamp. He pulled a tattered bandana from his pocket and wiped the sweat off his forehead. On the hair-raising ride back to the Kentucky Star, Rob realized who the tiger's stare reminded him of. It was Sistine. He knew that when he told her he had the keys to the cage, her eyes would glow with the same fierce light. He knew that she would insist that now they had to let the tiger go. Today, readers, you are going to tell about what Rob felt in this chapter. Last chapter, chapter 18, you chose who you wanted to feel for, who you wanted to think about, and who you wanted to feel about. Many of you chose Rob. It was either Rob or Beauchamp. Well, let's think back and remember one little instance in the last chapter and think about what Rob might have felt. In the last chapter, chapter 18, Rob and Beauchamp are sitting in the Jeep and they're about to drive through the forest. And before they do, Rob climbed into the passenger seat. There was a big brown grocery bag at his feet. "Go on and put that in the back," said Beauchamp as he swung into the driver's seat. The bag was heavy and it stunk. Rob carefully put it on the floor in the back and then noticed his hands. There was blood on his fingers. "That's just from the meat," said Beauchamp. "It won't hurt you none." How was Rob feeling then? He didn't even know what it was at first. This heavy and stinky stuff in this brown bag. Then he's got his hands covered in blood. I feel for Rob. I feel worried for him. That turns out to be a pretty gruesome experience for him. Raw meat that he's got to end up feeding to the tiger? So again, this new chapter, I want you to wear your heart on your sleeve again. Feel for the character of Rob. Now, what do you feel for him? You have to choose some describing words and then tell about them. You could feel sadness for him. You could feel nervous, scared, or frightened for Rob. You could feel apprehensive for him, like not really sure what's going to happen, maybe not really confident in what's going to happen. You might feel excited. You might feel worried for him. Any of these feelings that you have for Rob after you read that chapter, that's what you have to tell about. And you could tell a reason why. For example, I feel nervous for Rob because Rob knows what's coming. He knows that Sistine, when she finds out that he's got the keys, she's going to insist that they free that tiger. And when the tiger looked up at Rob and gave him that fierce stare, it reminded Rob of Sistine's fierce stare. That's what I'm nervous about for him, because I don't think he is going to be able to do it. Okay, that's how I do it. Now it's your turn. Enjoy. Move on to your next assignment afterwards.